Hi, good morning, everyone, or maybe it's good afternoon or good evening, depending on what time zone you're watching from. Wherever you are in the world, a warm welcome to our event today for Come Together Week. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about Georgian College and Enactus Say My Name campaign with our guest speakers, Ishan Sachdeva and Shauna Morrison. I'm Catherine Valinga. I work in the International Department, and I'll be the host for today's show. And we need the next slide, please. Yes, we'll start with Georgian College's land acknowledgement to pay respect to the Indigenous people, past and present, who live on this territory. Georgian College acknowledges that all campuses are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe people include the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. Georgian College is dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. Just a few housekeeping rules here. As with most of these sessions, all of our participants are muted upon entry. So please hold your questions. Well, actually put your questions in the Q&A chat box, and we will definitely have time to get to your questions and comments as well later on. We'll stop after our interview and again at the end of the presentation. Just a reminder that we strive to create a safe space to share experiences, to spark conversations and embrace diversity, and to honor the culture and the speaker's knowledge and experiences. So please ask questions and make comments with due respect for the spirit of the event. Thank you. We can move on to the next slide. So we have a whole week of events lined up for Come Together Week. Yesterday we had our event, and today we're doing our Say My Name campaign. Tomorrow you can join from anywhere in the world for a potluck breakfast, lunch, or dinner, depending where you are, to share food and ideas from around the world and to learn about what different cultures love to eat for different meals. We have a host, Angela, from the Aurelia campus, who will be having her breakfast at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So please join. It's a social event where you can, connect with some of your colleagues and peers to talk about food as the spark for more conversation. On Thursday, we have celebrating birthdays around the world at Georgian College. So international students who are away from home can do this, and also we'll be featuring international community voices. So we'll be hearing from two Georgian College former students, international students who are now living in our community, and they'll talk about their journey to becoming newcomers to Canada. And then on Friday, we'll be having our Indigenous specialist guest to tell us about the history and the importance of the land acknowledgement, as well as doing the announcements for the winners of the photo competition for this year. So I hope that you'll be able to join us again. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, now on to today's main event. I'm going to introduce our guests in just a minute, but first let me introduce today's topic, which is about the Say My Name campaign, by giving you a little bit of context. This campaign actually first launched in 2019, and we have a video to show you of what was going on during the 2019 campaign when the Enactus Club, an amazing student club at Georgian College, first started doing the activities for the Say My Name campaign. So if we could please move to the next slide where we have, yeah, thank you. Okay. Okay, thanks very much for that. So we have a little bit of context about what this looked like when we were all when we were all doing a physical when we were physically on campus, and so this gives us a little bit of context. And we have today with us Shauna Morrison, who is manager of the Student Leadership and Transition Programs, and is involved in the Say My Name campaign with Ishan Sachdeva, VP of Change Making at the Georgian College Student Association. And both Shauna and Ishan have been, co-promoting the campaign to become an institution-wide initiative where everybody, student, staff, everybody can participate and learn how to say each other's names. So yeah, I'd like to welcome both of you very much to today's session and say thanks for being here. And now I'd like to actually ask our guests, Shauna and Ishan, if they could just tell us a little bit about themselves. So I'm going to hand it over to Shauna to begin with, please.
Awesome. So good day, everybody. My name is Shauna Morrison, Manager, Student Leadership, Transition Programs. I support GCSA and work alongside Ishan on all of the initiatives that GCSA is involved with across the college, but in particular, as it relates to the Say My Name initiative, I'm a member of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee at the college. So I'll just stop it there because I think we'll go into a little bit more detail in terms of how this initiative, you've learned how it came to be, but how it's evolved in particular since we went remote and what that's allowed us to do in terms of opportunities to further this initiative in different ways. So I'll toss it over to Ishan to introduce himself.
Perfect. Thank you so very much, Shauna, and thank you so very much, Catherine. I have to say that the introductions have been amazing, and as part of this project, I am wearing multiple hats. So I'm actually the founding member of Enactus Georgian. We started the club in 2018 at Georgian College, and that was my first year when I came to Canada from a different country, from India. So I'm the founding member of Enactus Georgian, and as part of my position as of now, I'm currently the Vice President Change Making in Georgian College Student Association, and I work with my amazing manager, Shauna Morrison. So as part of being in my role, I also sit on the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee at Georgian College, and that's where this idea kind of came across again into my mind that why don't we start this Say My Name initiative again that we already had on the campus. So yeah, we just brainstorm ideas of how we can do it, virtually, especially we are in the pandemic. So yeah, I would love to talk more about it.
Thank you so much, Ishan. Can you just tell us what was the original impetus for the Say My Name campaign? What was the purpose and the mission of Enactus on this?
Absolutely. So when we started initially, we were working on a project called Georgian 101, and it was an international student guide. And we recognized that a lot of international students coming to Canada do not have anyone to tell them, how the Canadian weather is, where should they get their jackets or their boots or things like the basic things. And as a club, we decided that these things are very important for international student. And in order to do that, we have people come in from Center for Change Making Social Innovation to tell us the better ways how we can brainstorm our ideas. And they taught us a way which is called persona. So persona making is that we imagine a person in that position, and we imagine all the possible ways that can, things can happen to her. So our persona was called Fatima. And what we did with Fatima is that we chose that Fatima is a Black girl. She's been from a different country. Now the challenges that she's going to be facing are this, and this. So persona making kind of helped us to, develop all the challenges that Fatima, our virtual character, is going to be facing. So while we were doing this persona making for the Georgian 101 project, we were in a dilemma that do we call her Fatima? Do we call her Fatima? And we were confused between these two names, like why, half of the people were Fatima, half of the people called her, Fatima, and now we were confused. How do we go ahead? And while discussing that and having those conversations within our own team, we came up to an idea of Say My Name initiative, and how important it is for people to have a proper pronunciation, because we realize that people might be from different countries, different diversities, and they have been brought up differently, and they even have a different accent. So how do they actually pronounce a person's name? So that's kind of where this project initially started, while we were working on a different project, doing persona, and having a dilemma how we are pronouncing somebody's name.
Wow, so I imagine that's that human-centered design, a way of approaching how to develop something. Is that yeah? That's
Absolutely
amazing. That's amazing. So we saw that the students in the video were making the buttons with how to pronounce the names. Ishan, can you speak to why do you think that it's so important that we learn how to say each other's names properly? Please.
No problem. Well, the video actually got cut a little before, so I can reiterate what the video was. So in the video, when we were on campus, students were actually making their name buttons, and I can show one. Here's my name button. It shows my first name and my phonetics. And this is what we used to do when we were on campus. And in our first Come Together week in 2019, that's what Enactus Georgian did. And now you can see here's my name and here's its pronunciation as well. So this is the virtual Say My Name campaign now. And why it is important, because we did realize that a lot of people, when I started Georgian, I got to know that there are students studying from 85 different countries at Georgian College, and that's a lot of diversity. And in order to embrace that diversity, a lot of people, so many people have special meanings to their name. Especially mine, like my name have a very specific meaning. It has a very specific spelling that my parents chose. And I want to have that, that value added in my name, even though I moved to a Western country, but that should not, affect where I am and what I hold in myself. So in order to, just being authentic, just being yourself, embracing who you are, that was the main idea. And, we just wanted to make all the environments an inclusive place to study and work. And this does not, it limits to the students, but it also carry on to our faculty members. We also carry them to the community members, because we talked to so many students and they said the first day of their classes, the professors will ask their names, and they felt shy while telling their names to their name pronunciations. And they would not correct their professors, even if the professor is saying their name, wrong. They were just scared about these things. So by this project, we want to make sure that even if someone is pronouncing your name wrong, that's perfectly fine, but take the time to make them learn how to actually pronounce it. It's okay to pronounce a name wrong, but the only thing that we want is that you help somebody learn how your name is actually pronounced and begin those conversations, and removing the barriers of isolation, talking to someone, telling them your stories and things like that. So that's kind of why we started with this project.
Thank you so much, Ishan. Yeah, I mean, names are such an important identifier for individuals, and they have so much, they carry a lot of cultural and personal significance, and it's really important that we recognize people for the distinctive person that they are, and an individual with their own unique background, and that's so important part of our campaign to make sure that we can say each other's names. As you said, it's so easy for students to be silenced about their names, or when teachers are learning a new name that's not familiar, how difficult it is. And sometimes teachers will just avoid saying the name just because they're embarrassed that they can't pronounce it. So this really helps a lot. Thank you so much. And I'd like to actually move over to Shona for a moment, please. Can you tell me, Shona, how the GCSA and the Student Leadership Program became involved in the Enactus Club and the movement to make the Say My Name campaign an institution-wide initiative?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think to just spin off of what Ishan has talked about in terms of the importance of pronouncing people's names properly, and really taking the time to learn things that might be uncomfortable or challenging for you to say, but recognizing how incredibly important it is for that student or your peer or your faculty even to have their name pronounced correctly. And in the virtual environment, I have my name mispronounced, I think more so in a virtual environment than I ever felt in a physical on-campus environment, because now we're on Teams, we're on Zoom, and our name is the identifier, and people can't use body language to avoid saying my name. So in order to call out my participation in a meeting, someone needs to say my name, whereas they could look at me in a meeting or at a table and indicate that they were wanting my feedback or wanting my input, but now they have to say my name. So my name was being mispronounced so frequently that I quite honestly didn't know how to navigate it. Perhaps I didn't realize just how many people didn't know what my actual name was. So I think the reason why it became important from our perspective was within our portfolio, we support new students and orienting them to the college experience and hopefully starting to make them feel a part of our community and make them feel as though they're valued and they're empowered in their first steps as a Grizzly. And critical to that is feeling like they are their authentic self at our institution, that they can have their name pronounced properly, that they don't feel like they have to create a nickname to be acknowledged and feel a part of the community. So for orientation, we wanted to implement some strategies for students who know that they commonly have their name mispronounced, to give them some ideas about how they could write their name phonetically in their Zoom name or in their Microsoft Teams name, or actually put it in their student email signature, to start to build that culture of kind of passively reminding people of your pronunciation. Because as Ishan said, when you are somebody who has your name mispronounced incorrectly, you reach a certain point where you're now uncomfortable to correct somebody because you don't want to offend them. And it should not be about offending the other person. You should feel empowered to, in those moments, let people know what your name is. And the person on the receiving end has to be open to learning and hearing that feedback and committing to being better. And people are gonna slip up all the time. People slip up all the time with my name. I slip up all the time with Ishan's name. It happens, but the feeling of someone caring that matters to you is I think what's the most important thing here, is just acknowledging how it makes the other person feel when you validate that their name is important and pronunciation is important. So we incorporated it into our orientation and shared some strategies with faculty and shared some kind of corresponding strategies with students in the hopes that it becomes institutionalized or becomes a thought in people's mind as they begin to meet new people for the first time, or perhaps they've been talking to people for quite some time and have actually been mispronouncing their name for quite some time, which was the case that I found out for myself, which became apparent in a virtual environment. So I think that's why we really wanted to build a sense of community, and that community is based on people's authentic selves and feeling comfortable to come to the table with who they want to be and what they want to be called. And as Ishan said, it's so meaningful to be called by your name you were given at birth. And Ishan shared why that's important for him, and there's many students that feel the same.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. I love that. All of the things that both of you have said. If we can learn how to pronounce names like Tchaikovsky and Dostoevsky and Michelangelo, I mean, we've learned these things because they're familiar, and the more we try to participate in the Say My Name campaign, the more familiar that process and the sounds of names that we might not be familiar with now become. And as you say, I mean, these identities deserve to be spoken and heard. It's you know, to show respect for people. And in fact, what you were saying about, I was reading some research actually, Shauna, about survey that was taken, and apparently more than 85% of students really care if their teachers have learned their names or not. It just makes them feel so much more connected and cared about, as you mentioned before. Yeah. So thank you for all of that. Now, can you please tell me, maybe I'll ask for Ishan to talk about how students themselves can become involved in this campaign.
Sure, absolutely, Catherine, and very well said, Shauna, of how GCS kind of get involved in this campaign. As part of the students, Catherine, we feel that our original goal is still that we want all the students to have the name backgrounds that I have right now, you have, and Shauna have. That's our original and authentic thought, that we need all the students to have this in the virtual environment. But we're just working on that as of now to have it accessible to all the students. But meanwhile, there are, other ways the students can actually get involved. So, one of the biggest thing is that whenever you introduce yourself to anyone, maybe your peers, your other classmates, your professors, or anyone, make sure you tell your name phonetically to them. You pronounce your name in a way that they can understand that, and they take that time to learn it. It might not be the first time, it might not be the second time, but the third time is always a charm. So make sure you take that time to kind of go through that whenever you're introducing yourself. And it's a nice icebreaker for them, even if they're in a networking session or things like that. I did it the other day. We were in the business networking night, and I, introduced myself, and the person was like, "Oh, do you call it Isan?" I'm like, "No, this is called Ishan." So, I took that time to build that relationship with them, and even in as the icebreaker challenge in a networking environment, and it worked pretty well for me. So, just share your name phonetically whenever you're introducing yourself. You can also record your name pronunciation on LinkedIn and save it. So LinkedIn has an option to pronounce your name, of how you pronounce it. It has a small button on your profile, so you can record your name there. So all the people who are looking you up on LinkedIn can actually click on your name sound button and see how that sounds like. And you can also direct people to your LinkedIn to pronounce your name. Maybe you can add your LinkedIn bio, your LinkedIn URL in your student email as well, and people who you're talking to can actually go to your LinkedIn, see you, and people who are seeing you can actually listen how you pronounce your name. So I have that set up already in my LinkedIn, and that's what I encourage everybody, because it's nice as well to be open to these new technological advancements that we have. Another way is that use that in your email signature. So as part of my email signature, I have my job description, I have college I work for, I have my position and everything. But on the very top, just in front of my name, I have my name pronunciation written phonetically. So it's written Ishan Sisdeva, but next to it, it's written pronounced at what my phonetics are here. So that is an easy breakdown for somebody to learn your name, because I am working cross departments, even as a student at Georgian College, and there are so many different people. And especially with Shauna's name, I would always pronounce it wrong. But when I saw her, writing her phonetics in her email signature, and I scroll down and I see her phonetics, I took time to practice this, not even 5-6 times, but 10-15 times, just because we think that we're pronouncing it right, and as soon as you do it after 2 times, you forget, oh my god, what was I pronouncing it again? I can't remember. So it's a good icebreaker challenge. It's nice to have that as part of your daily routine. And also the last part is students can actually, until unless they get these backgrounds, they can use table toppers. So you can fold paper, write your name phonetically while you're attending classes, and and as one of the Shauna mentioned, is you can actually change your name on WebEx, Zoom, and Teams to your name, to your phonetic spelling, so that whenever your teachers call you out or ask you a question, they read your name phonetically, so that it's easier for them to pronounce it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ishan. And Shauna, anything to add for tips for faculty and staff on how they can promote and get involved and participate in it?
So I think Ishan stole most of the ideas that I was going to share because they really do apply to everybody. I think but the biggest thing that I would encourage staff, faculty, anyone in kind of, I would say positional power, because there's a perceived discomfort in if you're a student or anybody that's in a position of a lower perceived power or authority, to feel uncomfortable acknowledging that the other person has said something incorrectly or done something incorrectly. So I think it's so imperative that people recognize that it's not about them. When you need to call somebody out by name, you may mispronounce it. But if you know, or if you have some uncertainty about the pronunciation, or perhaps you feel you're certain, I wouldn't even think that you're certain, because as I said, I've had my name mispronounced more times than I've had it pronounced properly. So you may think that you've pronounced it properly, but if you're in your first class, I think it's so important to have people pronounce their name properly. And note how you would phonetically pronounce their name. And if they haven't phonetically written it out for you, take the time to jot it beside their name in an attendance sheet so that you can recall it and you can really be mindful of it going forward. And you may not ever have to pronounce their name again. It may just have been that one time, but make that commitment to not have them have to correct you. They've introduced themselves, and I think they've done their part, and recognize that it's uncomfortable when you get to a certain point in any relationship to let the person know that, you know what, you've been mispronouncing my name for like 3 months. You reach a certain point where you just feel like it's foregone and you're just gonna let them mispronounce your name. I am guilty of that probably more times than I'm even aware. You just let it slide. But I'm telling people, don't let it slide, because you don't realize how much of an impact that has on how that person perceives their value, how that person feels empowered to come to the table, because they're almost hesitant to say their name properly because they know that's going to make somebody else at the table feel uncomfortable, because there's going to be a recognition that, oh, crap, we've been mispronouncing that person's name for so long. Yeah. So there's this kind of wall that you put up when your name is commonly mispronounced that doesn't want to offend somebody else. And I'm saying we want that wall to go away. We want you to feel okay, and we want the receiving end of that conversation to be open and be humble and be welcoming to that feedback, to be better and be a part of the conversation, to socialize how to pronounce that name properly. Because if a faculty is commonly mispronouncing a student's name, it's going to get perpetuated across the entire class. And even though it might seem like an interaction between one another, now other students attach that mispronounced name to that student. So that student has lost their opportunity to feel valued and feel authentically themselves in those moments. So I would just say it's not about you. Take the time to learn people's names, and some are much more challenging than others, absolutely. But you owe it to that person to try and to learn and to acknowledge when perhaps you've said it incorrectly, and commit that you're going to do better and you're going to try the next time, and not be worried and not make it about you. It's not about you, it's about them. And it's about feeling comfortable, confident, and empowered to be themselves. So lots of the same strategies for faculty and staff. You set the tone, and being open and honest that it's important to say people's names correctly is super important.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of that, Shauna. It's amazing to listen to everything that you've said is about inclusiveness and just getting rid of the disconnect that can happen. It's amazing how much power the names have for that. When I listen to you speak about all the things that can, the knock-on effects of mispronouncing someone's name. all the anxieties around it and repercussions. So yeah, it's a wonderful initiative to further add to the inclusive community that we are creating, and I really want to thank you both for coming to speak with us about this today. Is there anything more that either one of you would like to add?
I have one more thing to add, Catherine. I guess it slipped my mind, but we also realized that we have a lot of students coming from Asian countries, and their names are specifically very hard to pronounce. And in order to make it easy for them, they actually choose a Western name. And we realized that it's difficult to pronounce their name, but we want to stop that notion to change your name to a Western name when you come to a Western country. And we want to recognize, we want to talk to you by what your your original name, what your Asian name is. And similarly for indigenous students, they have a long name. They have their clan, they have their name, and all the other things in their name. I'm sorry, I don't remember that, but they have a difficult name as well, and their name also have a very specific meaning. So same for Asian students, same for indigenous students, that we want to listen your original name, which you have, but not your Western name while you're doing this process. So yeah, that's my last words, and thank you so much.
Amazing that you mentioned that, actually, Ishan. With taking on a name that's just easier in the culture that you come to, as some students do with names. It's just easier to have a made-up English-sounding name. I just recall reading this research on infants and how when you're 5 months old, your brain is responding. The stimulus is hearing your own name, and the cocktail party effect, where if you're in a room full of people socializing, lots of ambient noise, and as long way across the room, and you're involved in a conversation, you hear your name and you jump up and pay attention, and it's just not the same if you've taken on a brand new name in the middle of your life. You don't have that kind of, intrinsic kind of identity with the new name that you've chosen. So it's so important for us to honor those names that people come to us with. And yeah, so great point. And any last words, Shauna, from your side?
No, well, I think just in addition to pronunciation of names, we also want to be inclusive of ensuring that you're remembering people's preferred names if they've indicated a preferred name, and as well the importance of pronouns as well, because there are a variety of reasons why people choose to use pronouns. But respecting what people have included in their email signature, because sometimes that is the only vehicle with which somebody can communicate that in a safe and authentic way. So I would just pay attention to people's email signatures, because they can tell you a lot through our strategy with Say My Name, but also through pronouns, because you might learn a lot about somebody that perhaps you've overlooked just by looking at their email signature. So I would just, again, it's about them. It's not about you. All you can do is commit to being better and open your eyes and be open to changing and working to be better in a variety of ways. So yeah, I would just pay attention to the passive kind of signals that others are putting out there in terms of their email signature or their LinkedIn profiles. There's lots you can learn about your fellow colleagues or your friends those ways.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Thank you both for sharing this information with us today. And yeah, it's a deeply important. And so I just wanted to thank you so much. And there's one more video that we'd also like to play. It kind of summarizes. It's a video that was really well made about the Say My Name campaign that's been used on the college website to help people understand what it's all about. So once again, thank you, Ishan and Shauna, and let's play the video on the next slide, please. Oh, there was one video with Shauna's face, actually. I think we need to go back to. Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Ishan Sachdeva and I am one of the co-founders and executive member of Enactus Georgian, which is a student-led entrepreneurial club on the Georgian campus. And I'm also currently leading as the Vice President Changemaking at Georgian College Student Association. Today, I'm here to talk to you regarding a community initiative started by Enactus Georgian in 2019, and we believe that it's the perfect time to launch it virtually. The project is actually called Say My Name, and it's designed to tackle social isolation within our community. It strives to make all the environments inclusive to study and work so that everybody can feel a sense of belonging. For all those of you who often find your name getting mispronounced, like me, Say My Name provides ways you can help people to pronounce your name without making you feel that you have to stay silent or use a nickname. So let me start with myself. So my name is Ishan Sachdeva. Some people call it Ishan, Ishan, but no, here's the pronunciation. I hope this is gonna help you. Now we're going to hear from a couple of more people whose name often get mispronounced.
Hi everyone, my name's Shauna Morrison and I'm the manager of student leadership and transition programs based out of the Barrie campus.
And I am Shona Klugman, marketing specialist for international education and development. People are often getting our names mixed up, and if we're in a meeting together, it gets really confusing about who people are trying to address.
People are often mispronouncing my name or asking me, how do you pronounce your name? So we thought we'd finally clear this up once and for all. My name's Shauna, Shauna. It has Scottish origins. My dad was born in Scotland and he chose my name. Thanks, Dad.
My name is pronounced Shona, S-H-O-N-A, or Shona. People often think that my name is just a different form of Shauna, but the names actually have a completely different history. My name has Gaelic origins. We hope we've shed a little light on how to use phonetics to teach others to say your name properly.
Ani, Bojo, Badasagin Nidisnakas, Nayashing Ninaming Donjaba, Moose Dodam. My name is Bidasage Elliott. I hail from the land of the handsome, otherwise known as Cape Croker First Nation. And I am also of Moose Clan. This is how we as Anishinaabe people identify ourselves. We say who we are, where we come from, and our clan. This is how we self-identify. My name is Bidasage, and it means the light of dawn.
Hello everyone, my name is Lai Winru, and I'm from Taiwan. My friend also call me Winnie. As you know, it might be a little bit difficult for people to pronounce my original name. But I love my name, so let me tell you how to pronounce it. It is pronounced as Yunru. Chat is here. Thank you. Bye.
Now we would like to share some more suggestions of how you can make Georgian community more inclusive.
Our first suggestion is for you to add this phonetic spelling of your name when you're attending classes or meetings on virtual platforms like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or WebEx.
Another idea is to write your name with the phonetic spelling on a piece of paper, and you can place it on your desk in in-person classes or on virtual meetings or classes. You can hold it up to the screen. If you have access to plain labels or stickers, then you can give yourself a name tag so when you're in virtual meetings or classes, people can see how to spell your name properly.
If you use any of these ideas, you will become part of the initiative by helping create more inclusive community, one name at a time.
Okay, thank you. And yes, perfect slide. Thank you. This is a virtual background that I requested with my name and the pronunciation, which is Catherine. You know, often we ask our students, you know, what does your name mean and whatnot. And I never could tell what my name meant. It was just sort of taken for granted by me, which is not right. So actually I researched, it actually means pure. It's from Greek, and surprisingly, you know, people don't know nicknames sometimes. If you're not from that culture, you might not know nicknames that come from other longer names. So my nicknames, and actually ones that only a few people are even allowed to call me from my childhood, are Kate or Kathy. So people are often, they're like, wow, that's Catherine. And yeah, that's where it comes from. And also the last point is that it's very common in other languages. Like my husband's Polish, he calls me Kasia. So you'll hear versions of the name Catherine in a lot of different languages. So I decided to do a little bit of, if I'm going to be asking my students about the history and the meanings of their names, that it would be good information to know that. So thank you for this background. And if we do have an opportunity to put in the chat a link for how people can grab this background at Georgian College, that would be awesome. And so thank you. This kind of concludes our information session on the Say My Name campaign. I want to thank Tatiana for her patience, because she is going to be giving us the next segment, which is a language lesson on how to, Tatiana comes from Ukraine, so she's going to give us a little Ukrainian lesson. If she's with us right now. And yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Shauna and Nishan. Please, I know you got busy days, so please go ahead and we'll talk. We'll be meeting and saying each other's names a lot. So thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye. And Tatiana, do we have Tatiana online?
Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope it was a very useful session for every one of us. I'm here to speak about Ukrainian language and tell you where I'm from, and maybe suggest you to learn a few new words to better understand your friends or maybe classmates. So I'm originally from Ukraine. The population of this country is around 44 million people. Country is located in Central Europe and washed by Black Sea and Azov Sea on the south. 35 million of people are native speakers of Ukrainian language. Ukrainian language is one of the Slavic languages and usually written by Cyrillic. So I have here a few words for you to learn how to pronounce. When we say hi, hello, we will say привіт. So it's a very soft sound in the end of the word. Привіт. When we want to say bye to our friends, we would say бувай. And when we want to thank to someone, we will say дякую.
Дякую. Дякую. Oh, this is, can I repeat after you for the hello, please, Tatiana?
Привіт.
Привіт.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Привіт. You have to make the R's roll a little bit.
Yes, correct.
And goodbye, can I try that one?
Buvai.
Buvai.
Yeah,
and
sounds amazing. And thanks is дякую.
Дякую. That one's actually
it's
not so difficult.
Sound after D, it's a bit softer. Дякую.
Дякую.
Yeah.
Дякую. Well, дякую so much, Tatiana, for joining us today to give us a little information about your country, Ukraine, and for teaching us how to pronounce and say these words. It's really, we've had different languages, and it's really, really nice to get a variety, and it sounds beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And you know what? One fun fact in the end. 35 million of people speak Ukrainian, and 2 of them actually teach all the world and help people to properly write in English, because the founders, the co-founders of two guys, they are co-founders of Grammarly, are both Ukrainians.
Oh, oh, wow, really? That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Very fun fact, very cool fact. Okay. Yep. Well, thanks to Ukraine for that Grammarly. That's a really, really excellent, excellent tool for so many people.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. All right, so we are ready to move on to the next part of our event program. Thanks for that. Okay, so now it's time for our photo segment, our photo competition segment of the day. Each year in the Come Together week, we have a photo competition with original photos that are taken by our staff and students, and the photos have to be created. They're original, created by the students, and they should tell some kind of a story according to the category of nature or culture, architecture, or people. So today we have a couple of photos to show you from the nature category. This is the first one. This was submitted by Shannon Sparks, who's a first-year aviation student, and she titled this photo, "What's the Story, Morning Glory?" which is kind of a catchy phrase. And students submit a reflection on what the photo means to them. So her reflection is, if you want to help the global environment, begin locally. This photo is a reminder to me that protecting the environment begins in our own backyards. So thank you very much for that. Let's move on to the next photo. This is one more entry by Jahil Atalia. In the nature category again, and this is from his native country of India, and it's on his uncle's farm. It's a wheat plant in mid-age, and it's you know, revered because it's food for all the creatures and a miracle of Mother Nature. So we just like to share the photos. We can't have our walkthrough gallery, so we have our virtual gallery on our show here. Okay, next slide, please. Now we'd like to share some student work on an I Am From poem that was written by an international student in the EAP, English for Academic Purposes program at Georgian College. Originally, the poem I Am From was written by George Ella Leon in 1993, and it's been used for like a scaffold for students to get ideas, to spark ideas about how to write a similar poem about their own countries, their homelands, to explore and share their cultural background and values by writing about some of the things that have formed them and developed them into who they are today. So, you know, this was an exercise in sharing and engaging and in cross-cultural interactions, and, you know, sharing them out. We can learn to appreciate the diversity of our different cultures in our community and different lived experiences. So, today we are featuring the I Am From poem by a student called Shireen Sajadi, and that's on the next slide. I've also put the the poem in text on the side, just in case there's certain little bits that are not perfectly clear.
I come from the farthest home of story. I'm from the most ancient land of the world. I come from the land where the oldest celebrations and festivals had a held. Nowruz was the most ancient celebration in the world, had been born on the land. I'm from the land of love and peace. From the land where the first statement on the equality of human beings was found. I'm from a land that its slogan has been justice in the world since 2015 years ago. I'm coming from the land where my ancestors have taught three things to their children: good thoughts, good words, good deeds. I come from a land where fire is symbol of light and purity. Because the fire is burned and impure, because the fire is burned the impurities and badnesses, and the fire is overall the heat. I come from a land where buried golden pollen of saffron in autumn. A country where it's a carpet in an ornament of thousands of homes. My land concerns pure black or struggle in his heart. I come from the fire. And concerns pure black or struggle in his heart. I come from the fire.
Nope. We can read the last bit there. I come from the first empire of the world, from the first country whose people has been lived with different races and languages. I come from Iran. So this poem, I find the poems really moving when I read them because the students are learning another language. This is not their native language, and they're expressing their love for their country and telling us so much about their homeland in another language in a beautiful and very emotional way. So that's just one of the poems that we have to show you. Thank you, Shireen, for sharing that. And I just want to finish off today's program with a short video of a cultural event that we have held in Come Together Week 2019. These are people that came from the General Consulate of Japan in Toronto to join us at Georgian to have to perform some drum music that is really a common thing for the festivals in Japan. The bands kind of, the groups move around and they play at various festivals all over the country. And in this video, we can see that they invited the students to participate in the drumming. So they did a little lesson, and now we all watch the video of the Japanese drummers and the students who are participating in the activity. Yeah, a little bit of fun there. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back to these kind of in-person type of events for our Come Together Week celebrations in 2022. Fingers crossed. This is the end of our program for today's Come Together Week event. I would like to thank everyone involved in today's event, to Shauna and Ishan to come and talk about the Say My Name campaign, to Tatiana for giving us a Ukrainian lesson, and of course to Sean and Josiah for their awesome technical support as always. I also want to thank the participants who joined us on this session. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. I don't think that there were any questions that were posted in the, okay, let's just check here. Are you going to show us how to decide on the phonetics of names? Okay, so Karen, yes, you know what? There is an article, and I will post the link before we sign off today. There's an article on the website of Georgian College with the video that we showed here, with the link on how you can get the Say My Name background that I have here with your speech bubble blurb, and then also with the phonetic site, so that if you want to like do it according to some universally accepted phonetic rules, that you can take it from there. Thanks for that question. So anyway, we're going to finish off our session now with thanks. I hope you're enjoying a little break from the demands of academics during this study week. And I just wanted to remind you that if you're free tomorrow, it's a bit unusual to have a 9:00 a.m. potluck in Canada, but this is a time that hopefully people from different time zones, in later time zones, are also free to join us to share what they love to eat, to share what they're having for their meal, to meet each other and to socialize together and make a few connections to the Georgian College community. Right, that's it for today. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a beautiful day.